The second season of Velma is a perfect follow-up to the first. It's like the show took all the valid criticism and learned to hate itself even more than the audience did. Step into my time machine for a moment and journey all the way back to January 2023, when Velma infected televisions across the globe. This disingenuous, pandering piece of shit fancies itself a comedy, specifically satire. It's just one of those awful ones that doesn't realize it is the joke. Sporting a whopping 1.6 out of 10 IMDb score like a badge of honor, this show is littered with wickedly unfunny humor that left even the most blue-haired people asking what in the DEI is going on here. In media criticism, it caught nothing but hands, failing to resonate with anyone, including its target demographic of Gen Z doomers.
Slay Mama has a yes, period, queen. I'm getting girl boss energy and I'm living for it. Yes! Where'd you shoot him?
At times, Velma tried to appease everyone, but ended up pleasing no one. A true masterpiece of universal dislike. The only wise decision was leaving Scooby-Doo out of it, sparing us all from a potential animal abuse spectacle. With a show this bad, Warner Brothers attempted to capitalize on the meta controversy, but couldn't escape the inevitable. Velma was a universally despised disaster. It's one of those rare moments when people from all walks of life come together in their collective hatred, like this year's Madam Web. And of course, it's the perfect time to bust out my favorite meme.
This is shit! This is a table of shit!
Velma was a show made with Gen Z in mind, created by a millennial that stole intellectual property from Gen X. Talk about appropriation. The show embodied the modern Hollywood fad of pillaging beloved IPs to be updated and modernized. Meaning Velma's like everything else, a soulless, unfunny slap in the face to whatever franchise is being exploited. Just, even worse. Not since, like, She-Hulk had a television show been used so blatantly as a writer's therapy vessel. It felt like Velma was Mindy Kaling because new Velma is Mindy Kaling. The self-insert definition had to be updated because Velma fit it to a T and added some sauce. The first season was basically the magic school bus for feminism wrapped in Family Guy humor. I'm not a fan of that show, but I understand its appeal, and it's 100 times better than fucking Velma. No, Velma caters to an even smaller audience than Family Guy's I Get Jokes crowd. The Clapter enthusiasts, who confuse obnoxious preaching with comedy. The kind of humor where comedians drone on about their trauma, eliciting pity claps from the audience, and then praised for their humor for some fucking reason.
So for me to be able to tell a lie, then hold on to it for long enough for it to become a betrayal of trust, that felt to me like a sign of maturation,
Can we please talk about something that doesn't suck for one quick second? The sponsor of this video, Keeps. It's a subscription service that helps men keep their hair. They offer clinically proven treatments that help combat hair loss. It's a convenient and affordable way for men to treat their male pattern baldness without ever visiting a doctor's office or pharmacy. It ships right to your door in discreet packaging, and I know because they sent me some free stuff. And I'm going to keep it going and share the picture of the first box. For those looking to take just better care of your hair, they offer thickening shampoos, conditioners, and pomades. That's how I keep my hair looking like this. Keeps keeps it personal because everyone's treatment plan will look different. Your plan is unique to you and recommended by a licensed medical provider. Whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate hair growth, or just take better care of the hair you have, Keeps has you covered. Hair loss stops with Keeps. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/moviecynic or click the link right in the description. That's keeps.com/moviecynic. Thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video, and now back to my nightmare. Velma attempts to poke fun at every side of the argument, but pulls its punches when it comes to topics close to Mindy Kaling's heart, ensuring a toothless, uninspired comedy that fails to deliver. Here's an example of it that's peppered throughout the show.
No one has access to that footage except us. And the North Korean teen who sent me a fake link to some puppy pics.
So here, writer Jenna Michelle Simmons decides to do a racial stereotype joke. Because foreigners trying to scam people over the phone. Yuck, yuck, humor. Velma's first sin is its cringeworthy humor. But what's even worse is its spineless attempt at a stereotype joke that's too afraid to target the actual group it's meant to mock. Let's be real, if you live in America, most scam calls come from India. It's a cultural meme at this point. And according to the New York Times, a whopping 80% of all scam calls come from India. But instead of using this fact, it's avoided because the show's creator, Mindy Kaling, is Indian herself. To avoid offending her, the writer takes a detour from India to North Korea, a country where people are literally starving and struggling to survive, and expect us to believe that teenagers there are busy making scam calls instead of searching for food. Okay. If you're too afraid to fully commit to a joke, here's a solution. Don't do the joke. The show's attempt at humor is a pathetic, weak, and watered-down version of comedy that's been done better by countless others. Every target is carefully selected to be the safest possible option, with the original intent to shield the show from any real controversy or backlash. Yeah, how'd that work out? Instead of taking risks, we get shit jokes like the Ruff Ruff scam call bit, which just exposes the show's pretentious attempts at edginess. It's clear the creators are desperate to offend the right people while being terrified of actually causing offense. It comes across as attention-seeking and immature, like they're just trying to impress their friends, but lack the courage and wit to pull it off. This is coming from a shit joke connoisseur. Fred's a token white guy. Get it? We reversed the token black guy trope that hasn't been relevant in decades. He's an incompetent moron who can't even feed himself, while other characters get traded to a race swap or they're just made gay or something. Watching season 2, I realized if you want a perfect example of how out of touch celebrities are with the real world, Velma's writing and characters are it. Almost every couple in this show, no matter the age, got the Kathleen Kennedy South Park treatment.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
The irony is that even in an accepting Western culture, Velma's diverse cast doesn't come close to representing modern society as the show claims. Instead, it's eerily reflective of the narrow, insular world of Los Angeles, specifically Hollywood, where Mindy Kaling resides in her California bubble. A bubble where celebrities often confuse their glamorous Met Gala lives with reality, completely detached from the real world. It's a glaring example of how out of touch the show's creators are with the very society they're trying to represent. Season 2 doesn't double down on what made the first season suck, it embraces it, meaning even more of the aforementioned Clapter. If Velma's attempt at humor has you questioning the existence of comedy in 2024, fear not. It's still alive and well. It's just not on TVs or movies much. Most comedy writers cut their teeth in stand-up, where the real test of funny happens. In my opinion, that's where the decision is made. You're either chasing genuine laughter or the Clapter. The latter crowd often veers towards writing because it's a safer bet. Say the right thing, get the right reaction, and you got a job as a comedy writer. But being funny isn't just about checking boxes, it's about genuinely making people laugh. If you're actually funny, most people try and stand on their own and venture into business for themselves. There's an entire ecosystem in comedy economy that's gotten so big it's had a full life cycle. We've gone from underground to bigger than mainstream media to backlash that spawned an entire niche on YouTube critiquing it. All that is to say, Velma Season 2 is fucking terrible, just like Season 1 was terrible. We didn't even get into how badly they desecrate the Scooby-Doo property, but it's not like I'm a diehard fan, so I'm not personally annoyed. But if you are a fan, this is a fucking nightmare. Every character is just wearing a Spirit of Halloween skin suit that kind of looks like the original, and that's as close as you get to being anything like the original IP. The funniest thing about Velma is that its meta commentary is the real joke, and by the grace of Bob, the show finally realizes it by season's end, but I'll get to that. Season 2 shouldn't even exist, and WB must wish it didn't. And I bring receipts. Last year, Season 1 was released weekly, and that meant an entire month of the show getting mercilessly roasted on social media, one episode at a time. But this year, the studio released the show under cover of darkness. The trailer for Season 2 has 6 times fewer views than my previous video for Velma had. No one cares about this show. No one's going to watch this show, and the only reason they made it is because they were contractually obligated to waste that money, as most animated shows are automatically signed for 2 years off the bat. They weren't allowed to Batwoman this piece of shit and shelve it indefinitely, so here we are. I watched all 10 episodes and I'm gonna go through each one and give you the lowlights, so help me Jesus. Episode 1. This season kicks off right where the last left us, with Velma and Daphne discovering the setup for the entire season, a dead cop. Then, because the show can, a new character that's a member of the community shows up. Their name is Amber, whose cool mom is opening an occult bookstore in town. Yes, the inclusion police are here, and Amber is another good example of why everyone hates this show. Amber's a part of the community, which would be a fine addition to the show if it wasn't the 20th character like this. The show's desperate to showcase its inclusivity credentials by highlighting the character's sexual orientations. Daphne's parents are gay. Daphne herself is bisexual. Velma is bisexual. And Fred is possibly gay or bisexual. And then random ass characters that pop up are just gay. It's something the show wants the audience to engage with, and it handles it in a way that feels forced, try hard, and downright fucking lazy. It's a disingenuous piece of shit, this show. People can sniff pandering a mile away. Fred is still a raging one-note dumbass who's perpetuating how Mindy Kaling sees white people. And there's still Black Shaggy. Here's my fucking Shaggy impression.
Life is one big party when you're still young, but who's gonna have your back when it's all done? They'll say that a living off your fun can't be a fool's son. What about the longer run? Oh, wow.
God damn, bro. No, not that black Shaggy. Anyway, this one is being dragged into smoking weed by his white Shaggy father. Because, get it? Scooby and Shaggy used to have the munchies in the old cartoons. You get jokes, right, guys? How meta. Not Shaggy's haunted by visions of Fred, creeping up anytime he's not binge eating and dropping banger jokes like this.
You killed my mom. She was the bomb.
And Velma's mom, who's busy cucking Velma's dad, well, her new heavily accented boyfriend dies, but not before saying this.
If you found a cold sore I can explain, I have herpes.
So that was episode 1. Episode 2. This is the episode where the story does progress a bit more, if we're giving as much grace as possible. There's a hint that Velma's growing and learning, but it's like characters are forbidden to be anything other than unlikable. The episode's plot boils down to a tradition called Creaky Friday, taking place where they oil creaky doors, and find out the killer is removing the victim's dicks. That's basically the entire episode in a nutshell, and we're only 20% through this dumb shit. Some lowlights, pseudo-Shaggy tries to solve his anxiety problems hanging out with the brain girls. If that sentence sounds stupid, just watch this.
Normal, this is amazing! We'll never question a guy's motives again.
Daphne and Velma run into mortuary assistants who are, well, you guessed it, gay. And we know this because it's literally their defining character trait. Ha! They're gay! Isn't that a thing? Yeah, like I said, no wonder everyone hates this fucking show. If I was gay, I'd fucking hate this shit. Who wants to watch this? Oh, thank God I was fucking represented finally by gay mortuary assistants. I'm all good now. My college debt's paid off. Thanks, Velma. And in the end, Velma and Fred find out the killer's chopping off their victims' members, which viscerally upsets Fred, and I hate this fucking show. Fred even has a random Genesis quote at the end. I mean, the band, not the Bible. Because that makes for a good joke, right? Fred's religious now, and there's a band called Genesis, and he gets confused. Episode 3. Okay, moving on to episode 3, we learn Mindy Kaling, Velma, hates rich people because millionaires distinguish themselves from billionaires, like anyone in the 99% gives a shit. You think the show's leaning towards Velma growing as a character, but after this episode, it's like they've accepted their fate. It's trash, so who cares about trying? Instead, Velma learns jack shit and just actually has her views reinforced. It's really subtle, too.
Nothing has made me angrier than rich people. Because, as rich people say when they're asked to pay taxes, I ain't doing it. No more dating rich guys, unless the actor Steven Yeun is rich.
You might hate the rich, but everyone hates this fucking show. Episode 4. The gang, or should we just call them the community, are in a Breakfast Club-style Saturday detention. This sort of reference is most likely lost on the target demographic, and for those who do understand it, it's already obvious. But a character makes sure to point it out the entire episode all the same. See how self-aware we are? Give us a fucking trophy.
Each of you is dealing with a common teen issue.
Hold on. Saturday detention? Teens reduced to a single character trait?
Being in on your own joke doesn't make it clever, or as I've said it before, pointing out your own stupid doesn't suddenly make it not stupid. This episode rags on 80s references for being dated, as if the Overton window for the show's own bullet points wasn't already slammed fucking shut. And this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. You just want to cringe after every other line. I really would love to meet someone who enjoyed this show. This is why it took me 2 weeks to do the video. Anyway, Velma and Daphne argue about Daphne falling into the Wiccan religion because, as Velma the TV show being so self-aware puts it,
it's idiots like you who ignore facts and science that do.
Episode 5. Episode 5 is fantastic if you're deeply involved in Velma and Daphne's intimate relationship, something I'm sure fans of the 70s and 80s have been dying to find out. So for all 2 of you deeply involved who hit the downvote on this video, go ahead and defend it in the comments.
Biased? This screams witch more than a sexually frustrated pilgrim.
Yuck. Good one, Mindy. That's a joke, and I get those. Yuck. It's made clear to the public that the killer is targeting middle-aged men, to which people ask,
who will watch our World War II documentaries?
Or collect guitars?
This is the most Los Angeles virtue signaling, is it still 2020 bullshit on television right now. This is Mindy Kaling self-reporting. Black Shaggy and gay Daphne discover Shaggy's grandmother is still alive, and that's how they introduce Scooby to the show. It was a science idea concocted by Shaggy's grandmother where people can find themselves by removing their brains. That's what the fuck she's been up to since season 1, helping girls find themselves. I fucking hate this show. Episode 6. In this episode, Velma, Black Shaggy, and Daphne, who's had her... It's just so fucking ridiculous to say. I hate this fucking show. I had to watch this. Anyway, in this episode, Velma, Black Shaggy, and Daphne, who's had her brain switched with Shaggy's grandmother, are on a mission to save the free-flowing brains in this series from dying. That is an authentic description of an episode of this show. And I wrote that into the fucking script to say that because it's so stupid. Self-awareness level -100. They discover Project Scooby is still going on and they end up creating the solution to save the girl's brains, but Daphne can't return to her body because hers has been carried off by cockroaches. Fuck me. Fuck this. Fuck this. Episode 7. Episode 7 actually has a mildly amusing subplot that's reminiscent of something you'd see in The Simpsons or Futurama, and it pains me to see something amusing in a show that is quite literally bottom of the barrel. I found the snippet funny and it just brought me to those better shows. Episodes 6, 7, and 8 really just fill in shit. This series didn't need to be 10 episodes long at all, so I'm kind of grouping them together here. It's just, it's more of the same.
It's like talking to a wall. She only responds in lame framed quotes. Your responses are like framed quotes in male dorm rooms.
Excuses don't get results, bro!
Just shit like this every fucking episode. Anyway, because they think the serial killer is a woman once again, they send all the women in the town down in the mines for some actual physical oppression because Velma isn't subtle. Or we get stuff like this.
You finally get the point. Pencil joke.
Oh, really, dude? Daphne gets back to her body after wandering her own mind and finding herself. And they figure out the killer could have been disguising their voice, so could be a man after all. Episode 8. After Velma's dad goes through an episodic subplot where he's the primary suspect, Velma reconciles with her love Daphne, and they figure out that the military was actually behind it all along. And the show arrives at the worst thing it's done yet. The one thing the show was given a pass for was that it didn't actually terrorize poor Scooby-Doo himself. And while it still doesn't do that yet, it takes the bronze and creates an inbred version of Scrappy-Doo instead, a super soldier project gone wrong. The anthropomorphized monster kidnaps Velma at the end of episode 8, and we have a setup for one dumb fuck of a final 2 episodes. Episode 9.
They're not weird outbursts. They're catchphrases, baby.
I fucking hate this show. I don't even care about Scooby-Doo, and I hate what I'm looking at. Let's put it this way. This was an immediate thumbnail option.
Scrappy-Dabby-Doo!
Okay.
I'm the guy known for this. Take it in, guys. This is what they do to beloved IPs now. Maybe in the Ray movie, they'll have a CGI Luke Skywalker take a swift kick in the balls. By this episode, the show makes vain attempts to honor, I guess, the original Scooby-Doo show. The music playing with the characters walking profile to the camera, it's there. The episode ends wrapping up a number of character subplots like Fred reconciling with his ghost mother and Scrappy revealing himself to be the dick-biting killer. I almost applaud the effort of the writer of this episode for trying, but these characters are so unlikable, there's nothing anyone wants to see resolved. It's just completely pointless. Episode 10. Thank fucking God. The Uncle Scooby Scrappy was talking about is indeed a real live person, so this means one more episode to go. It turns out it's Sophie, Velma's stepmom, an accomplice to Scrappy's killing spree and whose entire motive boils down to people don't take women seriously.
As a young, hot female officer in the military...
Yes, indeed, Velma Season 2's entire plot hinges on the anxiety over a joke about women be shopping. Then, in a single moment, when the show finally gives the fans exactly what they want, Scrappy-Doo shows up and kills a ton of people before murdering Velma in cold blood. I'm dead fucking serious. That's exactly what happens. This show isn't just trash, it's absolutely unhinged. It's fucking bizarre. Look at this shit. God damn, that was brutal. Velma is a fucking endurance test. I don't think a season 3 will be happening because if there was contractually, there'd have to be a 4th. And no way will they be doing that. And I'm taking a nap. GG's.